Hi, I don't know how to enter this. You ready?
Ready.
All right, here, real quick. Thanks. Hi, this is Tasha Rose, and this is Radical Mothering, and with me again is my husband, Travis.
Hello.
And Cecilia is with us, too, while the other children are distracted. She's a genius. Her shirt says so. Oh, everybody says, oh. There you go. And we are presenting to you our long-awaited Q&A. There are a number of people who have submitted questions, so they've been waiting for a little while. We got a little distracted with life and a camping trip, and I didn't go camping. They went camping. A camping trip, a break-in, all sorts of stuff has happened between now and when we were supposed to have originally filmed this. So now we're finally getting to it. So we'll just jump right in. There are a lot of questions that a lot of people submitted. Some of them are silly. The silly one is from a friend, actually. And so we'll just get started. So Danica has a lot of questions for us. And one of them was, when and where did we meet?
Yeah, so we met, what was it, like 12 years ago now or so? 13?
13?
13 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. So we met at a spiritual camping retreat, an annual camp gathering that I'd been going to since I was a young teenager. And Tasha Rose found later on in life with a couple of young children already. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we met there and spent time over the years getting to know each other and helping to coordinate the annual camp festival, and realizing that we really liked each other quite a bit. So we spent more time together outside of that planning, coordinating activity, and we did the camping together too. And that's kind of where our togetherness was birthed, was camping. So it's kind of got a special spot in our lives, although we have sort of evolved from there, and that's not necessarily of utmost importance to us anymore.
Right. Yeah, it's been a couple of years since we camped, but we'll try to get in some camping this summer. Okay, so the next question that Danica has is, who was Catholic first? And that would be me.
Yeah, she'd be into the punch. That's good.
And if you haven't seen Travis's conversion story, I'll plug the link in somewhere up here. And
I was not Catholic nor Christian before this Easter Vigil. So
Danica also wants to know what, if any, political, religious, etc., ideological differences we have, and how we settled them.
I don't know that we necessarily hold differences. I think that there have been opinions that either one of us, primarily you being more opinionated than me, I haven't had as many opinions, so there haven't been differences of opinion, but I've challenged opinions, and she'll challenge my opinions and beliefs too, and so we discuss that through, but in the end, we find that we really have very shared values. It's just a matter of understanding what do these opinions and viewpoints, how do they relate to our values?
Right.
And along those lines too, I think that the question comes from a perspective of, okay, relationship-wise and family-wise, have you found a way to resolve any differences of opinion? And I would say we haven't needed to, luckily, and honestly, I don't know. I mean, in my opinion, it's really not very tenable in a family dynamic and relationship to hold serious, religious or even political or other viewpoints that aren't in concert, that don't match. But you got to talk about it. I mean, you got to talk about it and figure out what it is, because any real differences, I don't know how we'd be able to reasonably raise the children. I approach some of our conservative beliefs and ideas in a different way, and usually in a much more gradual way when we're talking to the children that have, sort of already developed some of their own opinions about things.
Right.
Than you would.
Yeah. I just kind of jump right in with, no, this is the fact.
Right. Where I'm more willing to listen to and even discuss some of my own, slow to understand experience and that kind of thing. But basically the beliefs need to line up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with everything that you just said.
See, and it works. Yes, thank you.
Okay, Danica also wants to know what differences and similarities we had with our growing up. I think that we have a lot of similarities more than differences. The only real difference I think that we have with our growing up is that my parents were married and yours weren't. We both had some siblings. We both had a fair amount of brokenness in our upbringing. And I'm not going to go into huge detail with my upbringing. I don't talk to my family of origin, and there are details behind that, and I'm just not going to talk about it in this video. But I guess there were a few differences with regard to those issues.
Yeah, I would say that there may be some more extreme circumstances in Tasha's upbringing that I didn't experience. So I mean, I had what I needed. I did just fine. I wasn't living any kind of a lavish or even upper or central middle class lifestyle as a kid. But I didn't really feel like I never went without anything that I needed. That's for sure. And then. I even got some of the things that I wanted, and I mean that was pretty fair experience, pretty average experience. We moved around a lot, so that was kind of frustrating. I know that you did too. So same thing. And
not until I was in high school did we stop moving.
Right. You were raised by your mother and your father. I was raised primarily living with my mother, visiting my father, basically on alternate weekends and maybe in between sometimes and. That offered plenty of different time for getting to know him and everything, but I didn't have any understanding of family dynamic in the home in that sense. And then my mom had a few different serious boyfriends throughout my childhood and upbringing too. So I mean some of that became somewhat stable for a time, but for the most part it wasn't really. There was a lot of moving around and stuff. It was what it was. It was. What I can say, what's always been made very clear to me, was that it was a lot better than anything that that my parents ever, better than anything that my mom was ever experienced as a kid. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I grew up just with my brother and both of my parents. And, I will say that there was a time when I was younger that it was really mostly just my mom because my dad was off wherever he was. Whenever he wanted to be. And then there was some philandering that was happening too. So, there was a time when they were separated and he had a girlfriend and my mother moved away and had her own apartment. So, I mean, there was a fair amount of that too. And there wasn't really until I was in high school that my dad was actually around significantly. Well, 8th grade, I would say. Significantly more so than when we were younger. So. And
then religiously speaking, my video talks a lot more about it, but I mean, definitely not raised in any Catholic tradition at all, or with any real convicted religiosity or faith practice in the home. There was some attempts and some dabbling at different times, but for the most part, it was not a concerted effort put forth by my parents. So I was always given the option of figuring out what it was I wanted to believe for myself.
Yeah, and I largely feel that same as well. And I was baptized Catholic, and then I was later baptized Lutheran. And while there was talk about belief in God in my family, there wasn't really much bringing us to church on a regular basis, or bringing us to Bible study, or bringing us to anything really. And that really fell on our own sense of wanting to go. And I can't speak to my brother at all. And he's another one I don't speak to, so I can't really speak for him either. But I do know for myself, I really directed my own want to go to church and want to learn about the Bible and about God and about Jesus. And I relied on my aunts and uncles for that. So it wasn't really led by or orchestrated by my parents. It was really by my own will and my aunts and uncles. So.
Yeah, and then I think, maybe just one other slight difference is, based on all of that, your journey led you to really being highly academically driven and wanting to get out of the circumstances that you were in. For me, I was kind of ho-hum about it until I
What were you saying? Oh, academic drive.
Yeah, and for me, there was much more of a delayed academic drive and discipline. So, I made it through high school, and then I kind of kicked it into gear in college after that, and got myself more focused. So I just kind of had a lack of focus and direction, which has really been a big part of my journey in finding that and in finding Christ.
So we're going to switch gears just a little bit and talk about, Barbara wants to know how we keep our house clean, which I think is funny. I don't think our house is as clean as you might think it is. It's clean. We're not pigs and filthy and, wading through trash or anything like that. But we have 7 children who have toys and make messes, and sometimes those messes are cutting up pieces of paper.
That's what I was just thinking. That happens a lot.
And it's like, it's not just one piece of paper, it's like 7 pieces of paper per child who's doing it. So it's like a dining room floor that's full of pieces of cut up paper, like it was just the other night. And nobody wanted to clean it up, and nobody wanted to clean it up, and I was getting frustrated, and then everybody went to bed. And it did not get cleaned up. We
recycle because that's the thing that we do in the city, and I've always grown up recycling, so recycling is important. So we have to sort. Now we have a very easy recycling system in St. Paul. It's single sort. Everything that's recyclable goes in one bag, one bin, whatever. So we just need the garbage in the garbage can and the recycling in the recycling. And this shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be that hard. But even our 17-year-old, she was like, oh, well, I didn't know that whether or not, sometimes you say plastic stuff isn't recyclable, so I put those plastic water bottles in the garbage can. Without even asking, I got the little booklet. We get one every month from the county. I got the booklet. I said, you need to read this. This is ridiculous. We shouldn't have to go over
And
this.
how many times have you said, you need to read this booklet?
Well, it's mostly to Zoe, but...
It's been at least a dozen times in this year already.
So that gets... So it was just a disaster because, I don't know, 5 things get put in the garbage that are recycling, and then 5 things in the recycling that are garbage, and then it just becomes a disaster, and nobody follows the rule anymore, and we've got so many people going in and out of there that all of a sudden it's a gigantic pile of disorganized mess.
Crazy.
And every single bag has to be gone through.
And then our front room is the bane of my existence right now. That's our entryway, and it gets crazy about 2 times a year, and it stays that way for about a month and a half. Because of seasonal changes and children who just go in and get things out of the closet that they don't need. Gabriel likes to wear gloves when he plays sometimes, and he's just weird. And they'll pull bins down from the top shelves, and it gets to be a crazy mess. And then, with 7 children and 2 adults, there are twice that many feet, and so that means shoes everywhere. And how many pairs of shoes per person, and how many times you make the rule about, okay, only 1 pair of shoes that you're actively wearing right now go in the front room, and then pretty soon it's 20 pairs of shoes per person.
So this sounds a little bit more like, how do we well, maybe it's more like answering the question, how do we keep our house messy, or how do we maybe keep ourselves from going insane with how messy our house is.
Right, it's managed chaos.
Right, I mean, and that really is what it is, because
Right.
at the end of the day, I mean, there's never going to be a point, and anybody with a big family knows this, you're never going to have your house completely clean very regularly at all.
Unless you're that mother of 10 in Iceland. Like, she's got the cleanest house I've ever
That's
seen.
that Instagram story, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's insane. Her house is really clean. I'll link her channel. Okay, so let's see here. This is another one along the lines of home management. How do we create a big picture budget that adapts to tiny details? And I'm going to let you answer that. Bonnie wants to know that question because you are the big picture budget guy, and I've got my household budget, and I just deal with that. What I have to buy.
Oh, well, I guess that's an interesting way of phrasing the question too, because I mean, it already it basically answers itself, I think, in a way. It's like, yeah, you've got, the fixed costs of budgeting. So this is what we know we have to spend, each month. So I mean, the bills have to get paid. So I'm responsible for making sure all that stuff works well. The big bills, the house bill, the utilities, everything gets taken care of. And you don't have to worry about any of that. I've been keeping track of budgeting for, I don't know, most of my adult life, and I became an adult and I started going through what my mom was spending on stuff, because I had to start paying for car insurance and helping with, I started to pay rent as soon as I turned 18. And I don't know, that stuff just kind of seems second nature to me, though I do go through it on a regular basis with people. Most people are pretty good at figuring out this is, the stuff I have to spend on a regular basis. And then, you kind of figure out, well, what do we spend on groceries? What can we afford to spend on groceries? What are we willing to spend on groceries? And those are all a few different questions. But.
Those are a few different questions that it's actually one of my favorite topics, because I have gone from spending $1,200 a month on groceries to spending right around $650, $700 a month on groceries for all of us. And that includes things like toilet paper and shampoo and conditioner and body soap. I buy bulk body soap in bar form at the co-op, and, bulk toothpaste buys. And we've looked at buying bulk toilet paper online from commercial suppliers, and we haven't done that yet, but if we do, I'll let you know. So, and it's like a game I play with myself, how I can spend less money every month on groceries.
Right.
And going shopping where I shop really helps with that, because and you've seen my haul videos, that I shop at the discount grocer that's legitimately a discount grocer, in that he buys stock that grocery stores are getting rid of because of expiration dates, or they have too much, or they didn't pay their freezer bill. That was one of the big buys that he bought recently. That was the turkeys. They didn't pay their freezer bill, so their freezer lot got sold. And that's how they could pay their freezer bill. Oh. So he bought this lot of turkeys and then sold the turkeys for super cheap, and I bought 2 of them. So that's really how I do it, is really pay attention. And I had a year where I'm not a spreadsheet person, but Travis is. So I was really impressed with myself that I kept a spreadsheet for almost a year on the different places that I shop. So it was at the time it was Target, Aldi, Kowalski's, and this was before I really started shopping at Mike's. And I figured out who had...
Still at Costco?
Yeah, I was still at Costco then too. And I figured out who had the best prices on stuff based on that spreadsheet, and it was like the cost, the amount, the drive. I mean, I factored all of that stuff in there, and it ended up being not as cost effective for me to go the 3 blocks to Aldi, which was remarkable to me. And I'll talk about that in another video, but you're just paying attention to all of those different factors. It just made it a game for me. So I actually really enjoy grocery shopping. I don't enjoy it when I have children with me. Like, if I have 1 or 2 with me, it's fine. If I have all of them, I don't enjoy it as much, and I end up spending more money when I've got children with me, because I can't pay as close of attention, because I have to manage behaviors too.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
And part of the fixed budget for groceries has been about me saying, no, that's what we're going to spend on it, and if we really can't figure it out, then we can talk about it. But It's just been, it's like trying to set a rule and stick to it and just have that consistency. And so it's for that, it's for other things. It's, really challenging when the kids say they need money for something or other. Well, what is that for? Is it really necessary? Do you need that much money to go to Valley Fair? Whatever it is. And then just kind of sorting it out. And the kids are actually responsible for kind of figuring out different ways to earn money and having money available when they need it.
And they all have bank accounts so far down through Deggery. Gabriel has to open one.
Yeah. And it's kind of up to them to figure it out if they want to buy presents for Christmas or birthdays or something like that. They figure it out. And the other piece of that whole budgeting is sometimes unexpected stuff comes up, like this camping trip. Came up with the Troops of St. George for the boys at church, and it was a great opportunity, great experience. There are a few fixed costs that go into it. Everybody had to chip in some money for the boat rental and the use of the shared campsite, and then it was a shared meal plan and all that kind of stuff. So that was all kind of built in. And then so what I did, we had to buy some additional stuff for us to be ready to go camping too. So we have savings that we can use, so that's helpful. But also I work flexible, contract-based, as-needed sorts of jobs. And so I just said, well, I'm going to take on a few extra jobs if there's opportunity. And the economy is really great right now, so there's a lot of opportunity. And so just taking advantage of that too, and just planning for it, making use of that ability to use my time to gain more flexibility for the family budget for the dollars, and so that's really helpful. So I didn't have to eat into my savings, even though it was available before I got the paychecks or whatever. But I worked most of the month of May to make sure that we could pay that. So I took on a whole extra few assignments that I normally wouldn't do, and it was really busy, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, so this one goes towards the topic of home management again. Are you born organized or did you struggle? I think I was born organized and it devolved from there.
Oh.
But I'm still very organized. I'm a very organized person, but I have to contend with children who aren't.
Right.
And so that prevents me from being as organized as I'd like to be, because I'll organize stuff and you don't want to see the classroom right now. I'll organize it and it's perfect, it's precision. You ask me, Mom, where's this thing? And I'll tell you exactly which shelf on which side of the room behind what book it is, like I know exactly where everything is. And then I leave the classroom unlocked for one day and it becomes completely chaotic and we won't go in there because I'm mad. And I'm mad because my efforts went unappreciated and they destroyed it all.
Because our children weren't born organized.
Because our children weren't born organized.
Apparently. I don't know how true that may or may not be, but I know that generally my organizational style has come primarily from my dad, which is kind of a horrific thought. If you know my dad, he has a lot of stuff. He knows where it all is. It doesn't make any sense. It's all a disaster. You can't, navigate through any of his spaces. Luckily, I don't have anywhere near as much stuff as my dad does, and hopefully never will.
I like to think that I'm largely responsible for that too, because when we got together, just a little story. When we got together, he had a stack like this tall of Trader Joe's animal cracker containers that were just empty. And he's like, well, I'm saving them. And I'm like, why are you saving them? These belong in the recycling. And he said, well, if I need them for something. I'm like, no, these are going in the garbage. And they went into the garbage.
I did used to use them for wash buckets. And I needed to go and, wash something. Soap and a rag. And,
right, that's why you have a wash bucket.
Well, I didn't. So now we do, which is fine. But that doesn't stop me from using alternative, wash containers from time to time too.
Right.
But sure, things like that are necessary. There's still some of that stuff around, but not much. and not garbage, but other things that aren't necessary. But that's kind of where it comes from, and I know that I've kind of learned that a little bit, and so I don't really spend a lot of time figuring out the best way to organize something and package it and that kind of a thing. But I started doing a little bit, getting ready for this camping trip. I did a pretty good job getting things packed up and nice and neatly, bags and bags kind of thing, so that it was consolidated and compact and easy to carry around. So that was nice. I was kind of proud of that feat. But generally, I don't spend that much time worrying about that kind of stuff, and that's okay.
Overall, I'd say our household is pretty well organized. Everything has a place where it goes, more or less. And that has come since we moved into this house, because our old house did not have very much storage in it. So it was really difficult to assign things to places and have it not be chaotic. But now we know, okay, this is the baking cabinet, and this is the coffee and beverage cabinet, and this is all of these things go in this closet over here, and the sheets are organized by type and set and whose is whose, and it's not just a random cluster of here's this sheet over here and here's the matching pillowcase and here's there are sets put away in the closet together, and everything really has a place. It's just a matter of whether or not it's in that place where it's supposed to be when it's not being used. That sometimes comes into battle with so many people in the house and people using things without and not that everybody has to check in with us about what they're using when they're using it, but sometimes somebody will use something and not put it back. Grace is really notorious for, even if it's like the stove lighter, she won't put it back in the thing where it goes, and it's like you're looking for it, wondering where the heck the stove lighter is because the lighter switch is busted on the stove. But
the auto igniter.
Yeah, the auto igniter. So you go looking for it, and it's like, okay, where did it go? And then you immediately go to Grace because she was the one who used it last. And she'll say she put it back, but she didn't. It's crazy. And I mean, you can insert that into any child, any object that anybody's going to use in this house, So it's managed chaos, and everything has a place. But this is my house. So it needs to be organized how I want it.
Well, yeah, and I guess that's a good point too. I mean, there's some areas or some things that I kind of take a little bit more responsibility for managing, but for the most part, it's you that has the idea and the vision about how things should be organized, where it should be, and I support that.
Right.
And that's what it is. Listen to mom. Go ask your mom, where does that go?
Right.
Put it where it belongs. So,
right.
So there is an authority in the house for where things go and how things should be organized, and
right.
that's important. That helps us.
Right. So that's a big help, I think. And then having older children too, that 50% of the time will model the organizational skills that I've honed in them, and 50% of the time they don't. So, it does help 50% of the time.
Yeah.
So, another question that Bonnie has is, did you plan on a large family?
Yeah. We did. We'll say yeah. I mean, I didn't necessarily have a clear plan or anything, but I knew, always as a kid, I knew that I did want to have kids. I wanted to be a father someday, and probably more than two. Just that was a thing, and I thought, 3 is probably a fine number, but I never put any kind of cap on it or anything. And so we talked about that, and you said that you were going for a bigger number, and I said okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. We planned on it.
Yeah. And I mean, we're obviously open to more, because that's a thing.
Yeah.
And it's exciting, and I mean, why not? We did a head count the other day with the 7 children. I don't know how we got on the topic, but everybody was asking everybody how many children they wanted someday. And each one of the children gave us a number, and we inserted a number for Cecilia just for the fun of it. And I'm like, okay, great. We can bank on at least 50 grandchildren.
Yeah, right.
That's what I meant it for, is the grandchildren.
Right. This goes in alignment with, like, what is our purpose? I mean, the family church. Right. That's really what I've come to understand is our role as mother and father of our family, and here we are building a family, and our role is to build family, and so there is a lot of religiosity that goes into that. So what's the risk? What's the risk?
Right.
What's the better bet? And so I'd rather bet on more family, more life. That would be great.
Yeah.
And here we are.
7 and going. No, I'm not pregnant.
No.
No. But, it's always a possibility. The next question, we're going to go with a silly one. My friend Josh wants to know how we feel about macrame. Do you know what macrame is?
I think that is in some way related to needlepoint, but it's more like weaving.
Yeah, it's kind of like weaving, but it's not. It's like making things out of knots. So
is that how my sister made a washcloth when I was a kid?
Maybe, but you see like lots of plant hangers. It was a big deal in the 70s.
Well, pot holder.
No, not really pot holders. More like wall art and plant holders and such made with knots and rope. It's weird. That's my answer, Josh. I think it's weird. I don't think that you can ever do macrame in a classy way.
I think that tying knots is valid. I think it's a reasonable thing to do.
Knots are valid.
Yeah, for sure. There's a whole section in the Troops of St. George field manual that is all about all sorts of different useful knots, which I should know more about. I tend to be able to tie knots reasonably well, but I don't know what they're called or, official forms and style or uses. So that's something that apparently I'm supposed to learn, and I'm supposed to teach the kids, the boys, for their accomplishments or whatever they're called. So yeah, you can make lots of great things with different knots. I learned how to tie a fishing hook using a special fishing hook knot this past week.
So that's the answer on macrame. Knots are valid. Macrame, maybe not so much.
Count that.
And okay, our last question is from Melissa. She wants to know how we manage homeschool and homemaking. Like how I make meals from scratch regularly and do school and manage everything that goes along with family life.
How do you do it?
How do you do it? With lots of coffee. That's not true.
Well, yeah, not necessarily, because she's not addicted to coffee. We had a whole conversation the other day. She got really defensive about it. I am. I'm addicted to coffee. It's, biologically, physiologically an addiction. So I think coffee can help. Mm-hmm. But, my answer would be because it's important, right, and you care to do it.
Right. Yeah, that's basically it. I have to do these things. I chose to have the children with him that we have got, and we have chosen that I stay home with them, and he works from home, and we've really built our lives around centering the needs of our family. And that's really what it comes down to. And if you follow me on Facebook, you've seen these rants before that I say all the time. No, you don't, even modernly, to live in a $200,000 home and pay the bills and feed your children, you do not need 2 incomes. You simply do not. Mm-hmm. And our family is proof of that. We do not need 2 incomes.
I don't make 2 incomes worth of income either.
Right.
So
no, he doesn't make 2 incomes worth of income. We prioritize and this goes back to the budget question too. We prioritize what we spend our money on. We have a joke of a family motto: we don't buy things, we steal them. But that's not actually true. It just feels like we're stealing things because we are so fortunate to find things that are useful for our family for free or cheap, mm-hmm. And we don't impulsively buy the thing that we want to buy. I wanted new lighting for making our videos. We've got new lighting. I don't know if you can tell in the video. I'm sure you can. We've got new lighting, and that's because I was patient, and I didn't just buy the $80 ring light that I wanted on Amazon. I waited, and I found 2 lights, they're soft boxes, for $20 for both of them together. And, we wait. We search Marketplace on Facebook and Craigslist and eBay and sometimes Amazon, but not very often Amazon. I usually find things that I want to get on eBay cheaper than I find them on Amazon. Mm-hmm. We're patient, and we prioritize how we spend our money.
And it takes a lot of work. I mean, like looking around, finding, figuring out what's the best deal, and waiting patiently, and keeping track of this stuff. It takes a lot of additional work and time and energy. But it's like, well, if we were both busy all the time working, then we wouldn't have the time and capacity to do all that shopping. But we'd be spending the money that we're making on things that are, more pricey because we don't have the time to find it. So it's, what's the balance?
Right. And then additionally, we'd be farming our children out to other people during the day too, and that's not acceptable for us.
And then, a lot of what we end up, getting or buying or consuming is secondhand. Right. Which is a value that we have as a family that we don't, if we can avoid it, we don't produce new production waste. Right. We get stuff that's being reused, right. And that's really important. So I mean, just like the post that I put up for that old toaster oven that I want somebody to take for free. It doesn't work well. We've had it in our household for a long time, but if it can be useful to somebody else, that'd be great, because it's better than it ending up in a landfill. Right. Because it still does turn on. It's just not a fancy thing. Right. But. Yeah, so I mean, really, that question just is answered by, it's all about what your priorities are. If your priorities are simply making money and farming your kids out, well then, good, go, you do you. But our priority is our family, being together as a family, raising our children ourselves and not having other people do it, educating our children ourselves and not having other people do it, not producing waste, not producing new consumer goods, or participating with buying new consumer goods. And then in terms of like the question with regard to making food and such, our bodies are the temple of God, so we're not going to plug it full of garbage. Yeah. And that means making it from scratch most of the time. And we have our few garbage things that we like to eat just like anybody else. I'll buy Fruit Loops or, some kind of horribly sugary cereal because it's fun and it's fun to have, and then it's not there anymore. Right. But I make granola. I make granola. I make bread. I make all sorts of things. We don't buy pizza dough unless I'm really tired. We don't order food out. We don't order takeout. Everything is just produced here at home, and it just fits in with the rhythm of our day. We need to eat breakfast, so we eat breakfast. We need to have a snack, so we eat a snack, etc. Yeah, it's about what's important. And I think, another one of those ideas too is I mean, you mentioned like if our value as a family were just to make money, then that's what we would be spending our time doing, but it's not. And that's something that's been, for me, something over the last year that I've really grown through, because I used to think that was really that was the sign of what it means to be a man is to make money and and a father and that kind of a thing. But that's not that's really not what it's about, and that's something that I'm continually getting more and more of. But this idea of living for the income and to earn money and earn more money and save money and have money is not what life is about. It provides freedom, it provides flexibility, and it's really beneficial in that way, but it's not the ultimate goal, because what do you do with it? That's what's important. And how do you manage it? And are you being a good steward of that resource? That is a gift from God, like all other resources. And that's really been what I've been focusing on more. And my time is actually the most important resource, because I'll never get it back. And the time I have to spend with my family is so much more important than any of the income I could earn with my time now. Right. Right.
And we had a time where you were off working 60 hours a week, and that was really stressful for everybody.
Including me.
And, yeah, including you. And it was not fun, and we didn't see you a lot, and that's not what we're in it for. Mm-hmm. So it's just about priorities. How you're prioritizing your time and your resources and your values. So that's the last question.
Yeah.
We have.
And of course we pray a lot about all that stuff on a regular basis, because it's really important, and we pray together as a family regularly.
Nightly.
Yep, every night. And that really helps keep us focused, and gives us strength to continue doing what we understand we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. If you have any questions that you want to have us answer, you can drop them in the comments, and we'll be happy to answer them either in the comments or in a follow-up video, maybe. We've got a couple of videos coming up this week. Fingers crossed.
Oh yeah, what are we going to talk about next?
We're going to talk about sex.
Well, I don't know if there's going to be much talk about sex.
Right, we're going to talk about abstinence, actually.
That's more accurate. Yeah.
But no, it's a sex talk too. I mean, it's all part and parcel.
It's true. Yeah, that'll have to come up. Yeah, right. So, but it will, allay any suspicions about whether or not there's a baby on the way. Because we assure you there's not.
Yeah, we assure you there's not.
There's no way, aside from, the divine, but
right.
We don't have any expectations of that.
I'm not her.
Right. No. She's great, though.
I try to be like her.
They're both great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not there yet. So yeah, we're going to be talking about abstinence, and I'm going to have a video also about our chore chart, and there was something else I was going to do too, but I can't remember it at the moment. So that's it. If you are new here, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up. And there's I gotta say something about this because it's driving me nuts. There is one person every single video they thumbs down. Every single video I get one thumbs down, and I'm like, really? This is about cranberry relish, and you thumbs down this video about cranberry relish?
They probably didn't watch it. If you're still watching, thumbs downer. Leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts.
Right.
Just let us know. We'd appreciate it. Thanks.
It would be helpful.
Yeah.
Why you're thumbs downing the video.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
we appreciate feedback and criticism.
Right. My feelings aren't hurt. I just want to know why you're thumbs downing everything.
Right.
It's weird. Thumbs downer.
Yeah.
All right. Subscribe. Thumbs up. And I will see you guys next time. We will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye. Is that a wrap?
I think that's a wrap. We're done.